Make few mistakes and win. Play forward, make the breaks, one must always score. If it hurts, you ain't the breaks, we'll get you, don't let up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, 2 games after this win in. Press you again, we're here for the first man. Carry everybody, you never 6 minutes.
Rocky Top, you'll always be.
Just look around. You got the mountains, you got the most beautiful city in the whole entire country. The university is absolutely, looks like it's out of a storybook. It's just beautiful. People are incredibly genuine and extremely nice. It's just a place that obviously I'd want my kids to go to school. And it sells itself. You don't have to sell anything about this place. You just got to get them here. You know, the old field of dreams. Yep. Build it and they will come. It's already built.
Doesn't have to be perfect, ain't gonna be perfect. We go compete for 60 freaking minutes. All right, enjoy the opportunity, enjoy the environment, and then go play our butts off, play for one another, and have a hell of a lot of fun. Everybody got me?
Yes,
all right.
Yeah, the quarterback from Monmouth, I think it was small D2 school, I want to say. I'm not sure.
Virginia named Tony Muskett as their starting quarterback. How quickly do you dive into the tape, and what do you know about him?
Yeah, you know, we're getting to it, you know, and, you know, we had a chance to watch him, I believe, at Monmouth. I believe I'm saying that correctly.
Oh, my God. We should leave it at that.
Do you remember when we fell in love? I remember, don't worry. Do you remember? I remember how it all began. How could I ever forget? It's the first time. Do you remember? I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it coming in the air now. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. It's coming in the air now. Oh, no. We fell in love. You remember time. How could I ever forget? You remember time. Oh, no. We fell in love. You remember time. How could I ever forget? Coming in the air now.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
And I am Coach Jay.
Man, it is Friday. We got one more day, one more
Yeah.
sleep. We're just a little over 24 hours away from kickoff, but man, it's probably the most non-productive day of the week. The Friday before the first kickoff of the year. Coach, not just Tennessee, you got the first kickoff of the year coming up tonight. It is officially football season. Look, I know football started, you know, we can talk about Vanderbilt and Hawaii and all that nonsense. Football really started last night with Florida and Utah. We're going to get into that. But tell me how you're feeling on this Friday morning. Geared up, anxious, ready to go?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm ready to go out there and hit somebody. Give Coach Jay his old pads back, you know, maybe an old Douglas neck roll, and I'll go out there and feel safe and put a lick on someone, man. Ready to run through a brick wall. Had fun watching the game last night. Had more fun listening to the Gator fan call-in show after the game. And real quick, happy birthday to Mrs. Coach Jay out there. Happy birthday, babe. I love you. Big shout out to you today.
Oh, listen, you're trying to make things
I'm
right.
chilling.
Tell the audience the truth. Tell the audience what really happened for Mrs. Coach Jay's birthday.
A couple things. I think it was someone's birthday in the chat too. So I didn't beat that person to telling her it was her birthday. And then I fell asleep after the Florida-Utah game on the couch and went in to her room or to our room, sorry, to give her a kiss and tell her happy birthday at 1 a.m. So she thought, but I just really went in there to grab my pillow and go back to the couch and not tell her happy birthday. So Coach Jay, a little bit of the doghouse today, but that's all right. We got some football, and Miss J loves football, and I'll spoil her with some other stuff later, I suppose.
What a great start. What a great start to the stream. We got Pit Boss in the house. What's up, brother? Says he was here first. Rocky Top Tom is here. Says, morning family. Tomorrow is game day. Chase Tidwell, that's who has the birthday in the chat. Today is my birthday, and the Vols play tomorrow. GBO. Thank you, Chase, for the $2 super chat, and also happy birthday. We got Voice for Radio is in the house. How we feeling about Joe winning in Florida? Yeah, we're going to get into it. You guys know we're going to be talking about that Florida game last night, what that means for Tennessee, but I'll play this.
Oh, it was very meaningful. I don't lose in Florida. So I took that one to the heart. I mean, pretty much take every game to the heart, but yeah, I don't lose in Florida.
Let's see who else the chat is going nuts already. Let's see who else we got in the chat. Brad's in the house. Florida fans deserve all the humble pie coming their way. Yeah, you guys know we're going to get into it. We're going to break that one down. Let's see. Matt Mars also in the house says, good morning, Vol faithful. It's finally here. GBO, Mrs. Coach J in the chat. She's not cussing at Coach J yet.
Not yet.
So that's a good sign. Cody McElroy is here. What's up, brother? William is in the house. What is up, my friend? Noah James is here. What is up, Noah? Who else we got? Trevor Dixon in the house saying GBO. What is up, my friend? Christopher Welch is here. Guys, come on in. Smash the thumbs up. You guys know the deal by now. It is quick, free, and easy. We greatly appreciate that support. All right, let me catch up on some super chats here. Man, there's a lot of them. You guys being generous right out of the gate. Noah James for 2. Sunbelt Billy said this is from him. Dorothy GBO. I will take Sunbelt Billy's money all day long. Like I said, we're going to talk about that game. Pit Boss for 5 says Dorothy GBO. Appreciate that, brother. The kid is in the house. Elijah Allen for 5. Just a tip in the tip jar and a notification for the fam. I am 1 year sober today. Well, cheers. I will raise my Deadpool coffee mug to you, kid. Congratulations, man. Kind of been a journey going through this thing with Elijah the whole time, man. He was open and honest with us. That's the beautiful thing about this community, man. And we've been there for him, trying to be supportive of him and what he's doing, man. We're proud of you, Elijah. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Keep on grinding, brother. Dylan for 5. Dorothy, 60 degrees, a 3-day weekend of football in Florida, embarrassing themselves. All is right in the world. Yeah, like I sat down, I was like, man, I'm all in black. I guess it is for Florida's funeral. That is what we're attending today. Sling Blade for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Morning, fellas. Let's go. Man, you guys being very generous on this Friday morning. Big Orange Mountain for 5. Top of the season to you, gents. GBO, thank you for that. Set to 4 for 5. Appreciate that. We're here getting the oil changed while listening to Talkin VAWLS. Chef's kiss. Appreciate that, Seth. Good to see you in the chat, brother. Matt Morris for 5. Dorothy, I need you guys to go for 3 hours today. Got to get me through quitting time. Well, Coach has a football game to prepare for. Coach has to work tonight. So I don't know if we'll do an hour, hour and a half. I meant to ask you before we went live. We'll probably go an hour, hour and a half. If Coach needs to bounce at any time, he can bounce. He's got football to prepare for tonight. Doug Spencer for 2. Thank you for the super chat. Finally, it is football time in Tennessee. Appreciate that, Doug. We also got a member chat from Bob King. Been a member for a month. Says, happy birthday, Mrs. J. How about that? Spending his member chat to wish Mrs. Coach J a happy birthday. Tyler Adams, Trevor Dixon, and Capone. Is that Capone? All become members of the channel. We appreciate that. That's how we pay the light bill around here. So thank you guys for that. If you want to be a part of it, hit the join button down below. It's as little as $1. You give a little bit more. You get more perks and benefits, access to the fan call-in shows, all that kind of fun stuff. Don't forget, tomorrow, 11 a.m., we're going to be doing the fan call-in tailgate show. It's always a good one, man, right before the season kicks off. Culberson for 10. Appreciate that, brother. Morning Ball family. Finally time to shut up the haters. It is football time in Tennessee. GBO. Thank you, Culberson. Joe Brown for 2. Not going to lie, it looked like the UU was trying to lose second half. Yeah, it got a little close down the stretch, but bottom line is Florida lost. We're here to celebrate that. Ron the Don for 20. Why 26? I don't know why he's going 26, but $26 is not cheap, says door fee, boom, boom room fee check. The executive lounge. Oh, I want to be there. I got wet wipes. Let's go, Big Orange. I said, let's go. What is happening, Coach? What is happening? Ron the Dawn.
It's a free for all, man. It's free
Friday. It's Friday. All right. We're caught up on Super Chats. Let's get into it. You guys got something you want to talk about. You know how to drive the show. But we're going to kick things off with this. Somebody mentioned it in the chat. ESPN goes dark for Spectrum cable subscribers amid Disney Charter Communications dispute. Coach, we were kind of laughing about this right before we went live. There's a reason that they pulled the plug on this thing right at 8 p.m. Eastern time as Florida and Utah getting set to kick off. It was all over Twitter. People can't get access.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, is Spectrum like a big thing out that way?
It used to be Charter
in
this area, and then it was bought out by Spectrum.
Okay, yeah, I think when I was out there, it was Charter when I was living in Tennessee. Yeah, we have Spectrum out here. We don't have it in this household. Mrs. J, if she even so much as sees a Spectrum advertisement, she's throwing her beer or whatever she's got in her hand straight at it, because she absolutely hates Spectrum, and I think everyone out here hates Spectrum. As a matter of fact, all of the USC people and UCLA people that I know out here are celebrating them leaving the Pac-12 because they hate Spectrum and the Pac-12 network and that affiliation, and how terrible the coverage is, and how you can't get it on any streaming service, anything else other than Spectrum, and they just make it impossible to view in general.
Yeah, I had Spectrum years ago, and I hated it. It was kind of shortly after DVR kind of first became a big thing, and like you would set the DVR and it wouldn't record things, and it was such a train wreck and a nightmare. I got so sick of it. Finally switched to DirecTV. And everybody keeps telling me about YouTube TV. And somebody in the chat said, Pit Boss said, use YouTube TV. Mm-hmm. And I told my wife, I was like, why don't we just try a trial of YouTube TV? You get like a week free. Man, we got it and fell in love with it. Like the DVR, I just click Tennessee football. It records everything Tennessee football. There's no limit. You can record as much as you want, and it just saves it. It's so much better. So I'm saving I'm probably paying half of what I paid for DirecTV. Yep. And it's so much better. You still get access, ESPN Plus. You still get all that if you are a member of ESPN Plus. You just put your YouTube TV ID in there like you would DirecTV. You get everything, man. There's DirecTV's got to be going out of business. Companies like Spectrum. Of course, I still have to use Spectrum for my internet. I mean, that's the only option I've got out here. So
yeah, we have like a couple different ones out here. We have something called Giggle Fiber. It's like all they do is high-speed fiber internet, so it's pretty cool.
Well, everybody wants to talk about this Florida game. We're going to talk about this Florida game. If I can find this, get it up on the screen. We'll take a look at it here. Florida drops that first game of the year, 24-11. They kind of came back there in the fourth quarter. They didn't look good, and they made a lot of dumb mistakes, right? Penalties, missed field goal. They had the two guys on the field. They get a big stop around midfield early in the game. Utah has to punt. You got two guys out there on special teams. It's like a Derek Dooley or a Butch Jones type of mistake. Two guys out there with the same number on. That ends up giving Utah turns that into a touchdown. They had an interception later, bad throw behind the receiver, gets tipped, picked off. That led to a touchdown. So that's 14 points off of miscues. But Billy Napier, man, a lot of people say he's on the hot seat. You talked about watching a Florida fan call-in show last night. They're pissed off. They're angry. Do you think Billy Napier's really on the hot seat?
If he's not sitting on it yet, they lit the seat on fire and he's standing next to it. That's for sure. They were harping on some
already.
Was that you or me?
Random ESPN ad playing somewhere.
Okay, I was like, is that you or me? No, but yeah, man, I even wrote down some notes about that darn game. But on its face too, you would think that Graham Mertz played okay based on his numbers. Had you not seen the steaming pile of dung that was left on the field, you might think that he had a good game. But it was a type of game on both sides of the ball. I felt like that was kind of that game that coaches dream about, and like that bad nightmare dream you can't wake up from, where you can't line up correctly. You can't get in position. You're getting flags for everything. Florida looked one of the most unmotivated first week teams that I've ever seen in my life. They look lethargic along the defensive line. They looked undisciplined altogether. It seems like their whole offense was predicated on misdirection. It was almost like, as a defender, as long as you just stayed home at home base, you were going to be okay. And their only weapon of any note really was Pearsall, the wide receiver. So it seemed like if you bracket Pearsall, they're going to have a really a difficult time. Their run game was atrocious. We've been hearing all offseason about Florida's run game this, Florida's run game that. Their offensive line, I think, turned over like 5 or 6 players from the previous year, they were saying. And they certainly looked like it. They looked absolutely horrible on the offensive line. Utah could get pressure sometimes with as little as 3 rushers. So they just looked absolutely terrible as far as that goes. And man, the defensive coordinators for Tennessee had to be licking their lips watching that performance by that Florida offensive line. I thought Utah looked bad. I thought they struggled to line up at times against Florida's offense when they would break into their huddle. So they were discombobulated as well. Obviously, if Cam Rising had played that game, I think Utah probably would have beat them 48-11. It probably would have been really ugly. So Florida kind of dodged a bullet there. So just watching those fans, though, Boogie, it just kind of feels like the Florida fans are still in a little bit of denial about what's going on, and as all of us battered Vol syndrome fans can tell you, sometimes it's hard to admit what's really going on when it's going on. But they're in trouble, man. They are in some kind of trouble if they think this thing's going to end well, because it's looking like it's going to take some time. So we'll see how patient UF's boosters and fan base can be, because you can see there's young talent there. They're just young. They're babies. They need time to grow. And will they be allowed to have that time to grow? And will they be able to hold on to their recruiting class? I'll tell you this right now. If you're one of the top 3 or 4 Florida recruits and you're having second thoughts, pick up your phone. Give Tennessee a call. We'll take you. We got a couple spaces open. We'd be happy to have you at the University of Tennessee, and you don't have to join the dumpster fire over there in Gainesville.
Man, you mentioned so many good points that I want to go back to. That but I want to start with recruiting, because that's where you're finishing up your thoughts at. And I told you I was listening to SEC Now all morning, getting the show ready. What a freaking dream job that I have. And they were talking about Billy Napier and whether or not he was on the hot seat. They were saying no, that he needs more time. But can he hold on to the class of 24? They're in the top 3 right now, right? Can he hold them together? And like you said, you mentioned so many times as fans, we overlook things. It's right. Like even Josh Heupel coming in, we were making excuses before an excuse needed to be made. We're like, oh, it's going to take 5-6 years because of the roster turnover. Josh Heupel didn't come in and say, hey, I need 5 or 6 years. Josh Heupel has come in and overachieved from Jump Street. Year 1, winning 7 games. That was overachieving. Year 2, winning 11 games. That was overachieving. Recruiting, year 1 to year 2, now to year 3, has been trending up. There's never been anything that we need to question and say, maybe this guy's not the guy. But when you're in a situation where it's a Derek Dooley, a Butch Jones, a Jeremy Pruitt, where it's not going to work, the big red flag, the Georgia State game, right? I remember doing that post-game show with JP, and JP said, if you lose to Georgia State, you are never going to be successful at Tennessee, right? And they followed that up with a loss to BYU. But then Jeremy Pruitt found a way to rattle off I think like 7 wins in a row. And going into the COVID year, we're thinking, oh, maybe, all right, let's stay hot. Jeremy Pruitt's on a win streak. And you make excuses. But the key, and they were talking about this on SEC Now, the key for Billy Napier is going to be holding on to this class of 24. But when you look at Florida's schedule, it's brutal down the back stretch. They've got McNeese coming up next week, and then, of course, Tennessee will be coming down to the Swamp on the 16th. The back half of that schedule, I mean, they got to go on the road and play Kentucky. They can lose that game. They got to go on the road and play South Carolina. They can lose that game, but then they wrap the season playing Georgia, Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri, and then they wrap up against Florida State. I mean, really, when you look, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, they could lose 1, 2, 3. I mean, they could lose 5 out of their last 6, and throw in the fact that they've lost 4 in a row, longest losing streak since they lost 5 in a row in 2017.
Yeah, and I'm super curious to know what the attitude in that locker room is like too, Boogie, because like I said, they just sent flat and like they didn't want to be there almost at times. And I just wonder if their heads hanging a little. It'd be really interesting to be a fly in that locker room and see what their emotions are like, because that's tough. That's a tough place to be in, and you're starting to maybe let self-doubt creep in a little bit, and self-doubt is the worst of worst cancers on a football team that there could possibly be. You need players to believe, you need players to buy in, and the second that doubt creeps in and starts to undermine that, you can have a real problem on your hand extremely quickly. Very dangerous stuff, playing with fire. They have a chance to get right against McNeese, and if they don't just absolutely, dog walk McNeese, then they could have a real big problem on their hands. Like, they need to dog walk that school really, really badly. We'll see if they can. That offense looked bad in the spring game. I thought it looked bad last night. I realized they had a couple moments of sunshine, and if a penalty or two doesn't go wrong, but if, ands, and buts, and candy and nuts, as you say on this channel. So it is what it is. But hey, man, I'll take it. Helps our recruiting in the state of Florida. It strengthens our school. I don't mind when Florida's down and we're up. Doesn't hurt old Coach Jay's feelings at all.
You got to think too, not just us stealing recruits. Florida State trending up, Miami trending up. There's a lot of competition down there in Florida. Let me catch up on super chats. Got a $2 super chat from Dakota Coffee. Appreciate that, brother. First touchdown is Jalen Wright for a 37-yard rush. That's where I was at. We talked about that Wednesday. Who's going to be that first touchdown? I think it's going to be Jalen Wright as well. A lot of new members coming in, guys. I appreciate it. I know I plug and shield these memberships all the time, but it does legitimately pay the bills around here. The memberships are what gave me the confidence to pull the trigger and do this full time. That's why we have a Friday morning show, because thankfully Coach Jay is going to go to work a little bit later tonight. I am going to sit here and talk Tennessee football all day and every day. So if you've thought about it, if you like the videos, the contents, the live streams, the community, whatever it is, hit that join button down below. You can give as little as $1 or as much as you want to give. It's a tip in the tip jar. It's a thank you, and it's an opportunity for me to keep this thing rolling. But Parker, Rocky Top Customs becomes a member. Ryan Charlin becomes a member. Craig Torbett, Caleb Shoop, I don't know how to pronounce names, and Billy Todd all become members of the channel. Guys, appreciate that support. Thank you very much for that. We got over 300 people watching live, 321 watching live. Smash the thumbs up. Also, do me a favor, share this thing out. If you hit the share button, you can put it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can tell Tom over on MySpace that we're live. Maybe put us in your top 8, whatever you want to do to let somebody know about Talkin VAWLS. We would appreciate it. Alex Brown also becomes a member of the channel. Shout out, Alex. Appreciate that, brother. Let's talk a little bit more about this Florida game. Again, coming out of it, Coach, you talked about the play on the line of scrimmage. I thought they were bad offensively on the line of scrimmage, defensively on the line of scrimmage. That defensive line, 2 hurries the entire game, 0 sacks. And, I was kind of sitting here putting together a narrative of, is it really as bad as it looks for the Gators? You talked about, these running backs. We heard about how great Trevor Etienne had 7 carries for 25 yards. Montrell Johnson, 3 carries for 6 yards. So I'm forming this narrative in my head. Maybe it's just because, they were playing from behind the whole game. At one point, it was 24-3. So Florida's having to throw the ball a lot. You see that with Mertz having 44 attempts, right? So they're playing from behind. They're trying to throw the ball, but they struggled. They gave up 5 sacks on that offensive line, 21 carries for 13 yards. They were terrible on third down. Defensively, again, 2 hurries, no sacks. This Florida team has problems. How much does it change your outlook on the Tennessee-Florida game? I know that's a game that I've been saying Tennessee can lose at the Swamp. It's still on the road. How much does your mind change? How much of this can Florida clean up? We talked about alignment issues, penalties, missed field goal, little things that you can clean up. How much of it is stuff you can clean up, and how much of it is, holy hell, we got 2 weeks to get ready for Tennessee?
I think a lot of it's going to be hard to clean up in time because of the youth on Florida, right? So a lot of those kids just need more than just 2 weeks to get ready for a team like Tennessee. So it's going to take them a little bit of time, to get prepared for Tennessee. With that said, it's a huge rivalry game. Florida feels good about playing Tennessee in the Swamp, no matter who's there. And I've seen a million different Oklahoma Texas games where Oklahoma's way better and Texas plays them tight, or you can kind of plug that in USC, UCLA, whatever you want to plug in. Some of these rival games can be tighter than they normally are because teams get up and teams play super hard against it. I felt good about the Florida game before the season starts. I agree with what everyone's saying that it is kind of a pivotal game for Tennessee. It's a game where we kind of need to stick our flag in the ground and put an extra layer of dirt over Florida's grave. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, and, just going back to Utah real quick too, I just was not impressed with them. I wasn't impressed with their game management. I thought they had poor clock management. I didn't like when they chose to run trick plays. Their third string quarterback couldn't hold on to the ball. Just once again, I think a sharp team would have buried Florida last night. So it's it's just a problem, man. The Gators, they got some work to do. I don't think they got enough time to fix it. I think they're going to try to get back to that run game in McNeese, and I think they're going to start to lean on it a little more. I think they kind of got out of what they were doing. And team, you talk about playing behind. Florida's a team that should be predicated on the run. They tried to come out a little tricky and be a pass team and use a lot of misdirection last night, but usually they're a run team. And when you're playing behind, we've already seen the effects of the rule changes with the clock moving. And, guys, I looked it up. Only one game has hit the over mark. Like, the Vegas over under. Only one game has hit the over. And the game that it was UCF last night, University of Central Florida, who runs a eerily similar offense to what we're running. So it might be that the style of offense that we run is very conducive to the way this rule change has gone. And kind of by weird default, we could be a little ahead of the curve when it comes, because the faster you can go with that clock ticking and the quicker you can strike and the quicker you go up. We all know Tennessee gets those quick starts. We have those explosive first, second quarters all the time. And when we have those, it's going to be harder for teams to dig their way out of that. Absolutely harder for teams to dig their way out of it. If you think of the Bama game last year, had that clock been moving like that throughout that game, Bama would have had a real hard time making that a football game. So it's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on. And it's definitely perked Coach Jay's interest over here.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt Tennessee in any way, shape, or form. I think you're going to
help.
lose. You're going to lose a couple of series, but it's like you said, when you're playing from behind, if you need to score, I think it's going to benefit Tennessee more than anything. But let's talk about around the SEC. I think that's going to do it for talking about that Florida game. Yep. I'm encouraged. Look, I'm not writing Florida off yet. A lot of people like to watch one game and say they're done, right? A lot of people were trying to write off Georgia almost every week last year. Like every week that they had a close game, people were trying to write them off. It's one game. It's one game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens in 2 weeks, but I think Florida does have a lot to clean up. But let's look around the SEC as we head into this first week of football tomorrow. You look at the schedule. Of course, not a whole lot of big-time matchups going on out there this week. But as I look down that, I think a lot of the storylines are going to be, you look at the big two, Georgia and Alabama. Carson Beck at Georgia, starting quarterback. Alabama still has not announced their quarterback, but you got to think it's going to be Milroe. Of course, he's in the competition with a true freshman. He's also in the competition with Ty Simpson, and then the transfer kid, whatever his name is, I can't remember. But it's good. It's got to be Milroe, I would imagine. What's his name? Tyler Buchner?
Buchner. Yeah, from Notre Dame. Buchner.
You got it. What are your thoughts on Jalen Milroe? I was having this conversation with Kaner over on Locked On Vols yesterday. I know you said you watched that. What do you think of Milroe? Does he scare you at all?
If he's grown as a passer and he can make his reads a little quicker, he was really slow on his pass reads in the short amount of time. It's why last year before the Bama game, I kept saying, hey, if Bryce doesn't go, we could absolutely throttle them, because Milroe, it wasn't making those read decisions well. He wasn't making his check and unchecks very well. So how much has Milroe grown in that regard? How quickly is he not only making his read and his check down reads, but is he making the right decisions when he makes those reads and check down reads? Will remain to be seen. But it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's a clear cut yes, and I think Alabama's been pretty lucky and always been able to find a quarterback, or the years they haven't maybe had that perfect quarterback, had a defense that is an absolute nightmare, or an offensive line and a running game that they could just lean on that's an absolute nightmare. I don't know that they have either of those things, albeit they have very, very, very good, close to elite versions of that. I don't think they're quite what they've been in that regard, and they're going to need some quarterback play. So if Milroe can figure that out, then he's a terrifying athletic quarterback who will be an absolute problem. Who you almost need to dedicate a spy to. So if Tennessee only had an extremely fast linebacker that you could put back there that could spy Milroe, maybe we do have a freshman who might fit that mold, Boogie.
Oh, I love it. Do you think Alabama? Look, Milroe's young too. You talk about growing. Does he develop? I mean, he's what, a redshirt sophomore, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So he's young, but do you think, is Alabama on the way out? Like they used to be the standard, the dynasty. Now Georgia, obviously looking for 3 in a row. God, it makes me want to throw up. I don't even want. Can I erase that? Can I rewind and erase that statement? Georgia's kind of taken over, but then also just in the West alone, LSU, right? LSU getting a lot of buzz, a lot of hype. Some people questioning that. I think Jaden Daniels is a really good quarterback, but it's funny to go back a year ago. We beat the brakes off of LSU, and now everybody's hyping them up. You can see there at the bottom, they've got a big one, man. Big game coming up against Florida State, top 10 matchup. LSU, 65% odds according to ESPN FPI. But do you think LSU is taking over? And again, I've got all these weird random stats in my head because as I'm laying out the show, I'm listening to SEC Now, and they got those little statisticians in the back typing all this random stuff in. LSU, Alabama taking over. Alabama, if they don't make it to the SEC championship this year, it'll be the first time since 2010, 2011 that 2 straight years passed by. And that's how dominant they've been. I mean, it's been 2010, 2011, that 2 years passed and Alabama wasn't in Atlanta. Is LSU taking over? Do you think Nick Saban's on the way out the door, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I don't think it's happening quite yet, but hey, there's definitely chinks in the armor, right? They're still right up there, right? Like they're still one of the major, like, Godfather 5, crime families out there, right? Like, could we have gotten to and shot Don Vito 10 years ago, right? Don Bronzini says, or something like that in The Godfather. No, could Tennessee have gotten to him with that team? When Bama was at their height, maybe not. They had some absolute players and dogs there, but there's enough chinks in the armor now that you're starting to see some bullets fly through that armor. You're starting to see some flesh wounds on Alabama. So are they done? Are they on their way out? I think, like a lot of people, I'm not willing to say that yet, but they're vulnerable. They're absolutely vulnerable right now, and they are susceptible to taking wounds. And the right wound could prove to be fatal at some point. I don't know if that's this season, next season, or whenever. But there's chinks in the armor, and they're taking L's for the first time in a long time.
Which I kind of think it's funny, Brad's comment, they're primed for 3 losses this year. And we almost celebrate that. Like, Alabama could lose 3 games. We're talking about going 9-3. That's my prediction, and being happy with it and calling it progress. But we're celebrating the demise of Alabama if they lose 3 games. How big, though, man? Like, you talk about Nick Saban. I don't know how much longer he's going to coach football. I can't imagine it would be too much longer. I don't think he likes NIL. I don't think he likes the transfer portal. And most coaches probably don't. right? Most of them don't. But I think he is closer to the back end of his career than he is the front end. How huge is that hire, right? You see what happens if you hire the wrong guy and how you go down this, never ending. And Alabama's been there before Coach Saban. They were down that rabbit hole of hiring and firing coaches. The guy that comes in to replace Saban, they better get it right or they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you'd absolutely have to get that hire right. Things can snowball. Football is a momentum game. I agree with Blue Chip Breakdown. Yeah, perfect timing. We were thinking the same thing. Yeah, don't ever sleep on Saban. Absolutely, Blue Chip. And I'm not ready to. Just a chink in the armor, and he could easily go out and, if Milroe puts it together and has his reads and he's putting the ball where it needs to be and he's taken to the coaching that he's been receiving, they could go out there and win a natty and everyone could be shutting up real quick. So am I ready to sleep on him? Absolutely not. Heck no. And don't sleep on him. The second you sleep on him, he's going to tag you, right? And everyone wearing orange knows dang well they're sitting on us this year in Tuscaloosa. They've got some little billboard material up. They've got pictures of Tennessee fans hanging off goalposts, and they'll be ready for us when we come to Tuscaloosa. I just think we got to come out swinging in that game and do our thing, man. Do our thing and play our game, and we'll be all right when it comes to that. But it has LSU in the East kind of taken them over? No. Sports Talk Jay talks a lot about how, NIL's created a little more parity amongst the 5-stars and the heavy recruits. And I definitely think, and I know he's not the only one to say it, but he said he's been really, kind of sticking to that point. And I think it's a good point that he's making because we are seeing some of those riches and jewels spread amongst the college football spectrum a little bit more. And I think that's going to be interesting. I think with the expansion of the playoff, it gives some of these recruits a little more reason to maybe take that NIL money at a whatever, insert whatever team you want, Texas Christian, Kansas State, whatever you want to put it, some of these smaller teams, Missouri, whatever it may be, it's going to open that dang door up and people are going to walk through it. And more parity is good for college football, right? And it's certainly good for Tennessee right now. So we will take that. But is Bama down? No. Is there a chink in the armor? Yes. Is it going to be an instant death blow? Probably not. But could it snowball? Absolutely. We'll see.
Yeah. That's a good conversation to have with NIL. It's like the movie Blindside. Of course, there's a lot of drama out there with that movie right now. But you go back to that movie and the scene where Fulmer walks in and all the other coaches are like, well, it's over, boys. Pack up and go home. Fulmer's here. And that's the way it was. Fulmer dominated recruiting. Kind of the same thing with Saban before NIL. He walked in. It was over. It was a done deal. And like guys like Williams Nwaneri, there's no way that he's going to Missouri if not for NIL and state laws. That's it. You can say he was going to Oklahoma or Tennessee. You can argue that to the ends of the earth. It doesn't really matter. But I guarantee you he was not going to Missouri. And you're seeing it, and it's got to be driving these coaches mad because you're watching these things go down to the wire, especially Rodney Garner. How many times have we read or covered or talked about recruiting, and it's been Tennessee's leading down to the final hour, NIL deal, boom, gone. And a lot of that speculation, we always – we don't know what all is always going on, but, they've been paying players forever. But there's a difference between buying a kid a Mercedes and dropping $8 million on a kid, and that's why you have that conversation about everybody's got a budget. You've got X amount of money in the NIL funds. Do you spend it on a 5-star defensive tackle that everybody's gushing over, fans are gushing over because he's a 5-star, he's the number 1 player in the country? Or do you spend a little bit less on this 5-star edge rusher, Jordan Ross, because you like his tape better? You evaluate him, and your recruiting board is different than what On3 has. And I know as fans, sometimes we get lost on that, right? We just look at the stars, and that's what we're focused on. But these coaches got to balance that bank account, and they got to figure out where to spend money, how to spend money, and what the priority is, right? We talk about guys that get after the quarterback, protect the quarterback, and the quarterback. That's not coming from me. That's not from my mind. That's from the guys that are involved in NIL. That's straight from Spire Sports Group. That's what this coaching staff wants to spend their money on. And, we saw it last year with Carnell Tate. Like, look, Ohio State puts wide receivers in the league too. It's not like they're just some Joe Schmo. But I think NIL was a factor, and I don't think this coaching staff's going to overspend, especially at the wide receiver position.
No, absolutely not. They're going to be able to recruit high caliber wide receivers. And the way they've been evaluating, I think the coach staff, like I've said it before, is really comfortable in their own skin. They trust their evaluations, and they're not going to overpay just because they're star chasing. If the kid's got the right amount of stars and they like him, then yeah, they've shown they've been willing to, I don't know, send the bat signal out, I guess we'll call it, to Spire or whoever may be passing out that certain check. But they've trust those evaluations, and I trust the evaluations they've been making. They look good so far. Another thing I've been wondering too is, say you're a 5-star kid, right? Like a top offensive tackle, and Miami just paid Malagoa $5 million, right? And then they go offer you $2 million. Are you insulted? Do you go take 1.7 from another school because you feel like Miami didn't feel as good about you as Malagoa? There's just so many little dynamics to this that we don't quite understand. NIL is interesting. It's going to be evolving and ever changing, and we're just going to kind of have to sit here and learn as it goes along.
Yeah, like I've wondered that with Amari Jefferson. How much of him is, these kids, and you can say what you want, they love attention on social media. They do.
Oh, yeah.
They love it. And our fan base has been all over Mike Matthews and Ryan Wingo. Those are the two that we were talking about all along. And then Amari Jefferson, how much of it's like, well, this fan base isn't showing me love, I'm going to go here. And then you also got to look, it's almost like the NFL draft, right? If you're that 5-star prospect, if you're that number 1 ranked prospect, then you can say, hey, this is what I'm worth. You're going to give it to me, or I'm going to go elsewhere. And Tennessee may tell you no, but then maybe Missouri says, okay, we'll cut you the check for this amount because you're worth that to us from a optics point of view, right? How big is it for Missouri to say we just signed or got a commitment from the number 1 player in the country? And I think it is bringing parity. I think that is spot on from, you and Sports Talk, Jay. I agree with that. And I agree with what you said too. I think it is a good thing for college football. Let me catch up with the chat here. We got a new member in the house, Bryson Collins. Appreciate that support. Thank you, Bryson. The Orange Swarm also becomes a member of the channel. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Ryan Charland, also a member of the channel. Guys, we appreciate you guys. Hit the join button down below. There's also a link pinned at the top of the live chat where you can become a member. Don't forget, we got the big fan call-in tailgate show coming up tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Just like the fan call-in show we had this past Sunday. We send the link out. You guys come on. You drive the show. It's laid back. Crack open a beer. Come on, hang out. Talk Tennessee football going into this game against Virginia. And then we shuffle the schedule around because I want you guys to have an opportunity to come on ASAP. We will do our post-game show, and then Sunday night, 7 o'clock, you guys will get the link again, another fan call-in show. But you got to be a member of the channel to come on. The more you give, the quicker you get the link. $2 super chat here from Noah James. Billy said to the guys, brick by brick, who is more like Butch Jones, Coach? Is it Billy Napier or is it Shane Beamer? Who is more of a Butch Jones?
I would have said Beamer maybe before last night, but Napier kind of said hold my beer right last night and put out a less than desirable product out there. So right now I'm going to say Sunbelt Billy's got the title, but we'll see what happens after this North Carolina South Carolina game, which should be an interesting football game, by the way. Looking forward to checking that one out and seeing how South Carolina is coming along.
We got a $5 super chat from Papa J. Says one day more. It's football time in Tennessee. Thank you, Papa J. Appreciate that super chat, brother. Always supporting this channel. We appreciate it. All right, let's talk a little recruiting, and then we're going to give our final thoughts on Virginia at the end of the show. See if anything's changed, any groundbreaking news that we're going to talk about going into that Virginia game. But let's talk a little recruiting. Tennessee right now over at On3 shows them 6th nationally, 4th in the SEC. I get it. You got to be higher, but still 4th in the SEC. Not too bad when you're talking about Georgia. You're talking about Alabama. Will Florida fall off? Is Florida actually 1st in the SEC? I know they're in the top 3. I don't know. They're probably 2nd. Will this tell me?
Yeah.
Well, let me see.
Yeah,
Second.
I think so. Okay,
So there's
second,
the
yeah.
SEC right there. Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee. Also shows you the total number of commitments. And then it's giving you the average score. So Tennessee's got 20 commits, averaging at a 91.717. God, look at Georgia. Just freaking
The
on and on and
SEC
on.
though is cutthroat. Look at those scores. Just down the line. Man, that's
Well, and if
savage.
you go back and look, come on, what are we doing here? Now we're going all the way back to Google.
Hold for
Here we go.
vectoring.
Yeah, it's struggling here. Look at the top. I mean, this is just nationally, right? Georgia, Florida, Alabama. I mean, 4 of the top 6 teams are SEC teams, and then you keep going down. So 5, 6 out of the top 10. I mean, it is. The SEC is cutthroat. But we keep talking. We keep having the conversation. What does Tennessee got to do to get in the top 5? People keep asking me, Boogie, who's left? Who are the main targets? There's an article behind the paywall. That's a great article. If you're a member of On3, you can go check it out. But the remaining targets, I'll just run them all down, and then I'll throw it to you. Cam Michael, 4-star athlete. Tennessee recruiting him as a wide receiver. 4-star edge, Danny Okoye. 4-star offensive tackle, Jordan Seaton. That's a big one. That is a big one. Jordan Seaton. If you can add Jordan Seaton into this class of 2024, and then you scroll down here and look at the offensive line and what Coach Eckler has done. Of course, Bennett Warren, what an absolute blessing in disguise it was to land that kid. That's a legitimate 4-star offensive tackle. Max Anderson, William Satterwhite, 2 highly rated 4-star interior offensive linemen. If you're able to add Jordan Seaton, you've now added 4 offensive linemen in the class of 24 that are all top 300 prospects. Absolutely huge. But you've also got Chris Cole, 4-star linebacker. And then don't count out Cam Fountain. I know he is committed to USC, still having conversations with Tennessee, expected to visit this fall. So that's my recruiting board down the stretch here, Coach. Who is your priority? Is it I don't know. Just answer the question, but it's got to be either Chris Cole or Jordan Seaton.
It's Seaton. Yeah, it's Seaton 100%. We gotta keep our quarterbacks upright, whether that be Nico or McIntyre, whoever it may be. Right, we're bringing in quarterbacks with no problem at an extremely high click. So whoever that may be, let's make sure we can keep them upright. And Bennett Warren was a huge addition. Tackle bodies like that do not grow on trees at all in any sense of the word. So yeah, man, I'm excited about that. But if we can get Seaton, I feel so good about this offensive line class, like really, really good about this offensive line class. And I think that's what I was most worried about, kind of, as we've gotten some of our linebackers sewed up in the class. And if we can get Seaton, the only thing you really kind of wish you had is maybe just that dominant blue chip defensive tackle, nose tackle type body. But beyond that, I think we're doing a bang up job with this class. I think we're in the hunt where we need to be. And you've evaluated well, recruited well, coach them up and develop them, and we'll be good.
Got a couple of super chats here. Christopher Bernard for 5. Sunbelt Billy is the next Derek Dooley, and Beamer will be the next Butch Jones. That's pretty accurate. I think Beamer is so much Butch Jones because he's corny, man. The dude's just weird and goofy, and
corny.
The stuff he puts out on social media is so embarrassing. Austin Poor for $5. Thank you for the super chat. Pruitt is at school today. Just remember that. Can you imagine being a high school kid and walking into PE and there stands Jeremy Pruitt as your PE instructor? Life comes at you quick, Jeremy.
Yeah, that would be.
Life comes at you quick.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. PE teacher. He seems like that kind of PE teacher too that everyone kind of makes fun of too on the side. Like, every time he turns his back, everyone's like, I.
It's got to be worse now too, right? It's got to be way worse.
Yeah, it's got to be way worse. But I'm sure he's having fun out there coaching war ball or whatever the heck they're coaching in physical ed these days. But I think he's where he belongs. You think he ends up back at Bama one day, Boogie?
How long was this show? Was it 5 years, 6 years, something like that? I don't know. I don't know if he'll
Yeah,
ever
but I
end up
think
like at
after like
Bama.
a year or 2 years, they can pay they can like pay money and get you out early if I'm understanding that right.
I mean, look, I
I don't know.
think he's a good defensive coordinator, but you also got to keep in mind he was a defensive coordinator when Alabama was just absolutely loaded with talent. It's almost like I can just go out there and say, hey, just play man. We're going to blitz. Watch how good I look. You know what I mean? It's like,
Y-
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
he's a good coach, though. And I honestly, he was in over his head at Tennessee. He was not a CEO. He was a coach. He's not a CEO. He was in over his head. But I like the things that he has said since leaving Tennessee. Like he was doing some type of podcast or something. He was always making appearances and you would see, video clips. I liked what he had to say. I really liked the fact that the NCAA investigation, the last thing he told them was, hey, don't punish this current coaching staff or the players on that Tennessee football team because they had nothing to do with it. I admire him for saying that. And maybe he had to say it. I don't know, but I think that's a good look. Let's get back to Jordan Seaton. He's a guy that, a lot of people told me when I first started talking about him that I was crazy, that Tennessee wasn't in his top 10, top 12, top 4, top 3, gold jacket, green jacket. I don't care. People look at the On3 recruiting prediction machine and say, well, Tennessee's not even on it. There's no shot. It depends on whether or not he makes it to campus. Right now, supposed to visit for the UTSA game. Does he actually show up? Tennessee putting the full court press on, according to Brent Hubbs. This is from Chad Simmons. This is his take. It seems like Jordan Seaton is becoming a hot name all over again. His recruitment went quiet earlier this year, but things are picking up. He is expected in Knoxville later this month, and the communication with the Vols really picked up over the last few weeks. This recruitment could still go a number of different ways, but Tennessee is one of the schools that he is in contact with the most. I think that speaks volumes, Coach. And again, Jordan Seaton, you're talking about a top 50 player. That's a needle mover. That's a needle mover when we look at where Tennessee's at, ranked 6, average of 91.72. You see the score there, 95.57. This is a big-time player, man, top 50 player that a lot of people aren't talking about. And I don't know if it's because they don't think Tennessee has a shot or what it is, but I think Tennessee's very much in it.
Yeah, yeah, no, they're in it. And I think, fans start to kind of turn their ire away from recruiting this time of year and into the season. So a little bit that can be expected, but he's a big time recruit from us. We absolutely want to keep him away from, Florida, Oklahoma, and Alabama. Definitely do not want him going that way, but he could just really solidify this offensive line class. I haven't admittedly had a chance to look at his tape yet, but I certainly will take a look at that and see what he can offer to Tennessee. But I did watch their game the other night that they played against what was it, Spillman's team?
Yeah, Lipscomb Academy.
Lipscomb, yeah, and he looked good. He looked good in that game. That's kind of the only film I've seen him in. So he looked mustard in that game, and something we'd want to get our hands on. So I certainly think we're going to swing for the fences, and hopefully hype gets involved and go closes that down Arian Carter style.
How much did you like Edwin Spillman in that game? I saw so many highlights of hits from him coming out of just that one game.
He looked good. Yeah, he looked good. From the breakdown I did on him, I was very keen on him and liked him a lot. I think he's going to be great, and certainly a fun breakdown. Go check it out if y'all haven't seen it. But I like Spillman a lot. I like the idea of him and Arian Carter and T-Lander on the field at the same time together. I think that can be extremely scary.
Been asking if we're comfortable with O-line recruiting if we don't land another one of those guys. I think it's been great. I think we've done a great job recruiting on the offensive line this cycle. You would like to have one more tackle, but if your evaluation is right on Gage Ginther and he's as good as you think he can be, then I think you've got 2 really good offensive tackles and 2 really good interior offensive linemen in this class of 24.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do as well. I'm comfortable with it. I think if you don't get them, you absolutely go into the transfer portal and grab an offensive lineman. I kind of think you do it anyway, just because of the amount of offensive line turnover we're looking at after this season. So I think that's happening either way. But I think if we miss on Seaton, it just kind of emphasizes it a little bit more and makes it a little more urgent that we grab that player out of the portal.
Did I say Eckler earlier when I was talking recruiting? Because for some reason I was trying to say Ellerby just now, and all I wanted to say was Eckler over and over and over. I
He's
think
got
I
the good
did.
sound bites. That's why.
I probably did say Eckler earlier. Ellerby, I think he's done a good job, and I agree with you. I think you're going to have to hit the portal for defensive line, interior. You know, you kind of mentioned that earlier, but then also on the offensive line. Another guy I want to talk about. These are probably the two priorities, and then we'll kind of move on from recruiting. Again, I rattled off everybody that's kind of on the board right now, and this is not including evaluations. You'll see some evaluations, some new names will pop up, but again, 4-star edge Danny Okoye, 4-star wide receiver Cam Michael. We talked about Jordan Seaton, 4-star edge Cam Fountain. And then I want to wrap things up, Coach, with 4-star linebacker Chris Cole. Tennessee's got some good linebackers on this football team, not only on the current football team, also in the class of 24, with Edwin Spillman, of course, leading the charge there. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Chris Cole, his tape? Again, you're talking about a guy just outside the top 50, 54th nationally, 94.61 is the grade, a top 5 linebacker, also teammates with Tennessee commit Peyton Lewis.
Yeah, you know, you like the relationship. A good kid can really pick him up, put him down, run sideline to sideline, plays with good aggression and downhill speed, good hips, good feet. I like him. He's really good in coverage, yet he can come down and kind of come off that edge as well. So a kid with a lot of tools in the toolbox. Another check out that tape that we did on him, that breakdown that we did on Cole. Really fun breaking down these kids and seeing what they can do out there. I know Georgia's got a little bit of a beat on them, but hopefully those relationships and the culture we're building. And when's he scheduled to commit, Boogie?
He's actually visiting Southern Cal this weekend. He will be in campus at Tennessee next weekend for the Austin P game. And then he is scheduled.
Be on the boat?
He's on the boat right now. That's why you have the tank top on, right? Okay. I'm sure you're going out immediately to meet him as soon as this gets done.
Busted, man. Shoot,
no, but he'll be in town. He'll be in Knoxville next weekend for Austin P, and then he's making his decision on Sunday. That's why this one's so interesting. It's so intriguing.
Oh, that's quick.
Because everybody thinks Georgia is in the lead, but those people also said that he wasn't going to visit Georgia. Very interesting narrative out there that Georgia is trying to strong arm him or tried to strong arm him and get the commitment when he visited Athens. And his parents apparently did not like that. So maybe parents like Tennessee. Maybe Chris Cole likes Georgia. We'll see. It's a huge visit, man. What are your thoughts? I've talked about this a lot during recruiting and the official visits and the process. A lot of these kids want to visit during the summer and then commit in July before they get into high school football. An official visit during the season kind of goes two ways for me, right? You visit in June. These coaches give you every bit of the attention. They don't have a whole lot that they're really focusing on in June. You come in town for the Austin P game, and yes, it's a glorified scrimmage. This coaching staff is focused on the 2023 team and going out and taking care of business against Austin P. Very limited interaction. On the flip side of that, how many of these big-time prospects did we hear, oh, I was at the Alabama game. Oh, I was at the Florida game. What an environment. You get to see that game day atmosphere. So there's some pros and cons to taking that visit during the season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of kids get the opportunity to go see the games their junior year, so it's not as big of a deal. I think it kind of can hurt your late bloomers, but they were already kind of struggling against that anyways. So like you said, it's got its pros and cons, and I tend to like the earlier commits. It kind of helps you set yourself as a coach, I believe, and worry about your season more, and not having to worry about making these recruits feel warm and fuzzy when they're on campus during game week, and taking all your time away, taking your players' attentions away. That's another thing is people don't realize is these kids, when they come into town, they have chaperones, they have players that go around with them and show them everything. And for me, I want my players focused on the game day, not the recruit 24/7. And the less time they have to spend doing that is certainly a bonus as well. But
here's the report from Chad Simmons on Chris Cole. Says he's committing on September the 10th, is expected to come down to Georgia and Tennessee. Some in his area think Virginia Tech still has a shot, and he is visiting USC this weekend. But the two at the top are the Vols and the Bulldogs. The weekend before Cole commits, he is eyeing a return visit to Knoxville. Heading into September, Georgia looks to be in the best position, but Tennessee had Cole on campus in July, and they are expected to host him again next weekend. This race could be a little tighter than some think. So we'll see how Tennessee is able to do with Chris Cole. That's the next one coming up. We'll see if he does a live commitment. Maybe, I don't know. It'll depend on the time. Maybe we do it during the fan call-in show. We kind of tune in and watch that. If it's earlier in the day, maybe me and Coach jump on. We'll see. We'll play it by ear, but that's a big one. Let's see here. We got how many people we got? We got 340 people watching live, guys. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this final Friday morning going into game day. I know nobody wants to work today. Everybody wants to talk some Tennessee football. So me and Coach Jay going to be right here every Friday morning at 10 a.m. to let you guys skip out of work, put some headphones in, ignore the boss, stick it to the man. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Make sure you do smash the thumbs up down below. That's quick, free, and easy. We would appreciate it. Also, go check out the merch. You guys got to get this merch ordered and delivered before we get to game day. You want to be repping the Fuga shirt. You want to be telling people FUGA when Tennessee takes on Georgia. We've also got the Gator Hater merch, a clean TriStar shirt, Buck Fama right there. We got a political shirt as well. And I get it if y'all don't want to be offensive. We've also got just plain clean beat Bama, beat Georgia. We've got a shirt that says we're Kentucky's daddy. Go check it all out, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. All the links are in the description below, so we appreciate any and all support. If you pick up the merch, man, tweet it out. Put it on Twitter. Tag me at Boogie Bentley. I would love to see it. We appreciate you guys and all the support you show us around here. We're going to talk one last run through this Tennessee-Virginia game. But did you see this? Have you seen this floating around on Twitter? This is something that we've talked about before. The Lady Vols, light blue. Of course, Chad Fields. Everybody know who Chad Fields is if you're on Twitter. He's the guy that does everything with the uniforms. What do you think of this, though? I think this looks clean. I like it. I saw somebody in the comments saying, oh, right there, you can see it at the top. I like it, but it kind of looks like a Florida uniform. What do you think? I dig it. Obviously, I love alternate unis, the smoky gray, the dark mode. This would be pushing the envelope.
Yeah, I like tipping your hat to the Lady Vols. I think it's cool. If I'm Heupel, I'm trusting my senior leadership to make that call. I'm not making that call. I want my players to, look good, feel good, play good. Personally, this specific uniform, I might not whip it out against a big dog. I might whip it out against, Austin P or something like that. I'm not whipping it out against, like South Carolina at home or something like that, But I think a small tip of the cap in the correct game to do it in, it's all right.
It's got the Pat Summit logo there, top left.
That's cool.
I like that.
That's super cool.
I just think the light blue looks
the
clean.
Helmet's clean.
Yeah, I think it looks clean, man.
The helmet's super clean.
But look, I get it. Anybody out there saying, no, that looks like Florida, we're not doing that. I get it. I understand 100%. All right, let's talk about this Virginia game. We're going to talk about it just briefly here. What do you think, Coach? Going into the game, we're 25 hours away from kickoff. We've talked about all the narratives. We've talked about the offensive line. We've talked about Joe Milton. We've talked about it all. But how you feeling about 24 hours away from kick? Still as confident as ever?
Yeah, I think I said 49-9 was my final score. So I feel really good about it. I want to see continued dominance against the run. I like Virginia's running back. I was watching them a little bit again. They have a running back that's pretty good. Now their offensive line is terrible, so that's kind of a problem for said running back. But a good kid, and if I'm not mistaken, he was injured in that shooting. Is that correct?
Oh,
Maybe someone in the chat can let me know. I think he was. I think he got clipped in that shooting and is back running. At least that's what they were saying in the spring game, or maybe I heard that wrong. It's possible, but either way, the running back kind of ran hard and with a lot of good intention and looked good. They've got one or two good kids on the defensive line. They've just had a lot of turnover on the O-line and in the back end. I want to see the Vols play clean. The last thing we want to be talking about is what Florida's talking about, right? Like all the penalties, all the stalled drives, looking lackadaisical, looking like you don't want to be there. I want to see them play with a lot of aggression. Now I want to see them super vanilla. I want to see them as vanilla as Coach J's arms in this tank, right? But I want to see them vanilla, but I want to see them play super hard. I want to see them flying around to the ball, and I want to see a clean football game. I want to see clear communication between the sideline, center, and quarterback. and let's go out there, man. Let's get that Vols by 50 and blow away my 49-9 prediction here in this Virginia game.
I just don't see Tennessee coming out not ready to play football. All the talk, all the reports, everything coming out of practice, everything coming out of camp is that this team is dialed in and they're focused. And I think Josh Heupel's a leader. It goes back to the Tennessee Martin game, right? And it's like, are they going to come out and start slow after being so high? Wasn't it after the Alabama game? I think it was after the Alabama game. And I was like, is this team going to come out with a hangover? And they didn't, man. Heupel had them ready to go. And every time you think you can question it, I think this team's always prepared.
Yeah, it seems like there's only that one game that, we don't speak of anymore, that they didn't seem like they were ready, at least on one side of the ball, didn't seem like they were ready. And besides that, they haven't kind of fell into those traps. They haven't really stuck their foot into the mud. They've been prepared. They've been focused. They've been dialed in. They've been bought in. And that's an awesome thing. I can't say it enough. That can't be understated. Just the fact that we are ready week in and week out. These are our 18 to 23-year-old kids. It's hard to keep their attention span nowadays, harder than ever with all of social media and video games and whatever the heck you youngins are doing out there to keep your mind on other things. But this team has certainly been bought in, dialed in, and I'm here for it. I'm excited. I can't wait to play this game and looking forward to tomorrow. It's going to be an absolute blast.
Got a couple more super chats here. Wesley Page for $20. That is not cheap. We appreciate that. Wesley says, I'm a little late, but I made it. GBO, thank you for the $20 super chat. That is very generous. Go back and rewatch. It's been a fun show talking about not just Tennessee, but talking about what the Gators look like against Utah, talking about the SEC, talked a little recruiting. Always go back and watch the replays. I leave these things up. Look, I take down the NCAA streams because they're like 5 hours long sometimes, and that destroys the channel and the algorithm and all the YouTube games. But all this stuff I'm going to leave up. That way you guys can go back and check out the replay. Ed is for UT. He says, Boogie, would you spot Tennessee 28 points? They are a 28-point favorite. I don't know, man. Like, I hate that type of stuff. Like if I had to, don't bet on Tennessee. I just do not bet on Tennessee, period. Snake, I know I've told the story a million times, but Snake, when he was in college, he actually went to Tennessee. His senior year was the national championship year. Like, what a great time to be a Tennessee student.
Awesome, man.
But I can embarrass Snake and say he received a scholarship offer from Rod Delmonico to play baseball at Tennessee. He never talks about that because he doesn't like people talking about it. But he turned it down, man. He was burnt out on baseball, but that shows you what type of player in high school Snake was playing baseball. So,
that's awesome.
He would kill me for saying that. But he was in school, and he used to always bet on the other team. So if Tennessee was playing South Carolina, he's going to bet on South Carolina. That way, if Tennessee loses, at least he made a little bit of money on it. And if they win, he will gladly pay the money. So I don't know. Do I think Tennessee beats them by 28? Yes. My prediction was 52-10, even though Coach Jay came in and did the Price is Right deal to me and bid right underneath me. So I'm going to lose no matter what. I think Tennessee wins by 28. So I guess I have to say yes to that. Scott Bennett for 5 says cover charge late entry, but I'm headed to Nash Vegas. GBO. Thank you, Scott, for the super chat. Have fun at the game, my man. Ron the Don with another 15 says Vols 56, Virginia 13. I got a gut and a feeling. GBO. Thank you, Ron the Don. 56-13. What do you guys think in the chat? Put those score predictions in the chat. We did that for us on Wednesday night. That's when we'll always make our predictions. Coach isn't always going to be on the Wednesday night show. He's not supposed to be, but I put up the bat signal because Dauber had some stuff going on, and then Dauber ended up making it last minute anyway. So I've always got to remember to get your prediction on this Friday morning stream. That's going to be the beautiful thing of it, is letting you come on and kind of break down the game right before we go into it. One last thing I want to talk about with this Virginia game coming up. Again, listening to SEC this morning, they were talking about the pressure on Joe Milton. And I know we've talked about the pressure on Joe Milton. And they talked about Nico in waiting. And there's a lot of this national media. And again, I don't know if it's because they cover so much football that they really don't have a grasp on what's going on at Tennessee. And they talked about Nico in waiting and how long is Joe's leash. And I kind of joked about it with Kaner. If Nico comes in the game and throws 3 passes and looks great, everybody's going to be talking about Nico on Sunday because he's the young, hot freshman quarterback, $8 million man, all that stuff. does Joe even have a leash at this point? It's Joe's team. I don't think
Not
there's
yet.
a leash
No,
on
not
Joe.
yet.
Now you go out. I think it's going to have to be really bad. I think he's going to have to go out and lose to Florida. I think he's going to have to lose to South Carolina. He's going to have to lose a couple of games. It's going to have to be really bad to where this coaching staff is going to make a change.
Yeah, he's going to have to be, sailing every other pass or, just throwing it right behind his receivers on slants. He's going to have to look awfully out of rhythm, for Vol fans and the coaches for that matter to kind of have a leash for him and pull that back. It's Joe's team right now. And, the fact that there's a storyline, whatever you want to call it, for Nico out there, to me, it's a good thing. It's a blessing. It means we got a heck of a recruit under our hat, because look at Joe Milton. He goes out there and balls out. There's no question, and I think anyone's mind, that he's going top 5 in the draft if he goes out there and balls out. I mean, the kid's got every single attribute there is that a quarterback can have if he puts it together from an accuracy and mental standpoint. Joe's going to go extremely high, and the fact that people are even talking about Nico, he has.
Got another super chat here from Noah James for the $2. Appreciate that. Let's hope it doesn't come down to that. Yeah, I'm with you, Noah. I agree, but I think, man, there are going to be people in this fan base that when Joe throws an interception, he's not thrown one since he's been at Tennessee. He's not thrown one, but he's going to throw one. There is going to be a time where he makes a bad decision or he makes a bad throw and it gets picked off. There are going to be people in this fan base that immediately start calling for Nico. But I just don't. I don't think Joe really has a leash. I think he's just going to go out and play football and compete. I think it's, the Nico talk on SEC this morning. I think it's almost similar to the people that just say, well, Hendon Hooker's gone, Jalen Hyatt's gone, Tennessee's going to suck. Like, they're not talking about Dante Thornton. They're not talking about Squirrel White or Ramel Keaton or Brew McCoy. I just think that's something that comes with the national media. Give me something you're looking for on Saturday, Coach. What would make you happier than anything if X happened on Saturday for Tennessee?
No sacks whatsoever. No false start penalties. And the opposite, pressure with our front four, with our natural front four without blitzing. Those are the 3 major things coach wants to see out of the game.
I want to see Tennessee come out and be physical and dominant running the football. I know we've talked a lot about Joe and the pressure on Joe. I want to see them come out and just run the football down Virginia's throat, get up early. Like you said, play clean football. And then I want to see some Nico, man. I do. I want to see some Nico in the second half. Everything I just said, maybe I'll be in here saying Nico's the greatest of all time. He's got to be the starter. Maybe I'll be that guy that gets that narrative started. But I just want Tennessee to dominate, take care of business. I'm sick and tired of talking about everything else. I'm ready to talk about Tennessee football. We're going to be right back here tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., fan call-in show. We will be live immediately after the game. Typically within a couple of minutes, we go live after the game, break it all down right here. It'll be myself. Hopefully Dauber will be in the house. Coach Jay and the X Factor will be here to break it down immediately after the game. So make sure you tune in for that. Again, don't forget, you want to be a part of the fan call-in show, make sure you hit that join button down below and become a member of the channel. But we're going to get out the door. We'll see you guys in less than 24 hours. He's Coach Jay. Coach, go take care of business tonight. Go get that dub.
Are we going to get him?
And then we'll celebrate some college football tomorrow. My name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
That's all.